Revolt is a remote control car racing game from Acclaim, released on the Dreamcast, PlayStation, N64, and Windows back in 1999. The Dreamcast version of the game is one of my favorite racing games on the system, so I was curious how the N64 port would hold up. What Revolt does exceptionally well is feel completely different than most other racing games of the time. This starts with the controls. The game doesn't just feel like regular cars racing around in oversized environments. Instead, you actually feel like you are controlling a tiny car in normal-sized environments. Therefore, the steering is incredibly twitchy, for better or worse, but does feel somewhat realistic. There is a real tire model here, and the way the little wheels and suspension react to the surroundings is fairly convincing. Next are the environments. For the most part, you feel like you are racing around in real-world locations, like neighborhoods, museums, gardens, and cruise ships. While the children's toy room bucks the trend in favor of a more defined track, this is the exception rather than the rule. These are the real high points of Revolt. The tracks are expertly designed, managing to squeeze in a wide variety of turns, developing into an awesome flow, making the game a ton of fun to play. The combination of creative track design, twitchy controls, and a semi-realistic visual style really set Revolt apart from most other racers of the time. Moving on, the heart of Revolt is the championship mode, forcing you to finish each race in third or better, and ultimately have the most points at the end to actually win. Victory will unlock a new shipment of RC cars, which are generally quicker, and another championship to race through. If you're up for it, you can race through the other modes as well, unlocking even more cars to use in the championship by setting fast times and locating hidden stars. The massive amount of new cars to unlock is yet another highlight of Revolt. Things are not just handed to you, instead the game requires you to memorize courses and explore to see all the game has to offer. Unfortunately, this N64 port has some problems. First, the controls are somewhat laggy. Your RC car will have a tendency to just keep steering after you've stopped pressing the joystick, causing more than a few spinouts until you can adjust. Spinning out in the harder championships can be a death sentence as well, with first place taking a commanding lead they will never relinquish. Revolt has always been a hard, demanding game, but on the N64, it can feel downright unfair. Actually, the AI is mostly broken altogether. Even with the default grid of just 3 opponents, the game can't quite keep track of them all. If you build a big enough lead, it's pretty much curtains for the competition. The side effect of this is since you'll often be racing large sections of the game all by yourself, the weapon system is incredibly underutilized. You'll rarely have the chance to actually fire bottle rockets at your opponents, and instead you'll spend most of your time trying to avoid a minefield of oil slicks. Finally, while the environments are rendered nicely and even feature some above-average texture work, the frame rate can be quite sluggish. The sluggish frame rate, of course, makes the twitchy controls even worse. In reviewing the recorded footage, it doesn't look too bad, but trust me, when playing the game, it's inconsistent and really drags the experience down. One technical area I'm genuinely impressed with is the soundtrack. The upbeat techno tunes sound terrific, giving a nice 90s nostalgia feel, while sounding crisp, clear, and bassy. Again, I'm not sure how N64 developers managed to create such high-quality tracks with such little space, but the folks at Acclaim did not seem to struggle at all. Despite the frame rate, twitchy controls, and strange AI behavior, the N64 version of Revolt is still a decent game. Once you come to grips with the controls, memorize courses, and anticipate turns, there is enjoyment to be found. The act of taking control of an overpowered remote control car and racing it through a wide variety of environments is inherently fun, and nothing is too buggered to really make this game unplayable. I just can't help but wish Acclaim had spent a bit more time optimizing the game for the hardware. Instead, a lot of Revolt's luster has been lost, and the game feels a lot more average than it really should. Still, if you're a fan of racing games and looking for something different on the N64, Revolt fits the bill. Just keep your expectations in check. 3 out of 5.